Deutschland nicht gelebt. Aber das, was heute vor uns steht, das ist nun...
Well, we're about 300 kilometers northwest of Winnipeg in 1943, October 26th to be exact. 440 German prisoners of war were brought to the labor camp here and put to work basically harvesting fuel wood from the park. The first place they came to in Canada was an internment camp where they were basically just waiting for the war to be over. So the government at the time thought, well, we've got all these able-bodied young men, why don't we put them to work? And so for those of them that wished to volunteer to do some outside manual labor, we had them volunteer, and then we transferred them here from camps in Alberta to do some fuel wood cutting. Each man was responsible for about 3/4 of a cord of wood a day. There was no fence around the camp, so the prisoners were loosely supervised. There were no guard towers either, so they were allowed to run in the camp, but then after the lights out call, some of them would apparently sneak out of the camp and head to some of the surrounding communities such as Olha, Horud, Seach, and even Crawford Park. And they would meet some of the locals, and they would maybe trade some goods that they'd taken from the camp. If there was a dance going on, they might take their uniform, for example, and turn it inside out so that they weren't, that's the prisoner of war uniform, of course. They would turn it inside out so it wasn't obvious that they were a prisoner of war, and they would go to dances in the local communities. They would meet some people of Ukrainian descent who actually apparently welcomed them as the German army was actually involved in liberating Ukraine during the Second World War. Liberating, we'll sort of use that term loosely. And then before the morning roll call, the prisoners would have to make it back into the camp. So here we've got some of the last remaining structures here of the old Whitewater prisoner of war labor camp. We've got a little cleared area here with some packed gravel, some concrete pilings, and you can see here these ones are really distinct because this was the structure used to support the generator that they used at the camp. One prisoner, Max Neugebauer is his name, or was his name. He passed away when he was harvesting the fuel wood out of the park and a tree fell on him. So he died. What was interesting about that is that he was allowed a full military funeral in Dauphin, so the prisoners that attended the funeral were allowed to be there in full formal military wear, and there were actually Nazi flags displayed in the church during the funeral. So it might have raised a little bit of eyebrows in Dauphin at the time to see the flag of the enemy. But this was the practice at the time, to give a military funeral to a member of the German army. The prisoners had to work 6 days a week, and they were only working 8-hour days, so they had some time off after that, and they had a day off as well. Some of them did wood carving, some of them did just some drawing and art. They played music, they had a band. They had actually at one point found an orphan bear cub that was young enough that it wasn't going to cause them any problems. So they turned it into a pet named Moshi, I believe. And then a few of them got together and decided to carve out some canoes out of spruce logs, spruce being plentiful. And they would take the canoes out onto the creek here and out onto Whitewater Lake and just paddle around. So that was another degree of freedom that they were given. And we're going to go searching for some of the remnants of a few of those boats here in the bush and along the river. Hang on. Like, and it's not marked with any kind of a sign or anything. All these little spruce bogs look the same too, which is not what you want to hear your guide say. But it just makes it difficult to find which one is the right spruce log that the canoe is lying in. Okay, I found it. You sort of have to use your imagination a bit, but it's got that canoe bow type of a shape. The rest of it appears to be kind of covered in long grasses, but you can get an idea of the shape of it here if I just do some clearing. See that there? Still has that sort of a nice, graceful, curve to it. A nice point there as well. Little doggy here and there. Little tricky walking here. Here's one here, you can kind of see the water level's quite low. In October of 1945, the camp was shut down and eventually decommissioned. Those Germans that were here as prisoners were then repatriated. But then a lot of them who enjoyed the area, Manitoba or just in North America in general, actually came back and enjoyed lives here. Well, I like the fact that the prisoners, whenever they got here, they appeared to enjoy life quite a bit, just like I do. Like, I like canoeing. They came here and to participate in the Canadian experience. They carved canoes and they paddled around. I play music. They came here, they formed a band and played some traditional music. And so in a way, they were kind of like just regular everyday people who came to this place via a set of very different circumstances, but they still got to appreciate the place for what it is. It's a beautiful natural place where you can take part in all that, such as canoeing, hiking, playing music, and just enjoying life in beautiful surroundings.